All right, and welcome back to The Light, powered by Atlantic City Focus. And speaking of power, we're here with James Whitehead from the Power Hour with Jimmy Whitehead, and we're collaborating on today's show. And so glad to have him here. We're talking cybersecurity. We're talking uh, economic opportunity zones and all that good stuff with James Whitehead. Want to remind you coming up on Monday, December 15th at 8 a.m., all
8:30,
roads lead
8:30
to
a.m.
resorts. I'm sorry,
8:30, 8:30 a.m.
8:30,
Yes, sir.
8:30 a.m., all the roads lead to resorts for the, one more
For
time, what's
the
the name of that record?
Atlantic Coastal Tourism District Opportunity Zone Initiative, the most incredible, unprecedented collaboration between the six coastal cities, something that's never been done before, and it has a very high level of bipartisan unity and focus on how do we do what's best for all of the taxpayers in Atlantic coastal cities. So yes.
And tell them how to register for that again, because
Sure. If you would
you
like to
can
attend,
register.
just send me an email because we're doing this as a holiday complimentary economic breakfast. You send it to me at james.whitehead@us-hart.org. Again, that's james.whitehead at us-hart, HART.org. December 15th from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m.
All right, there you go. And so a couple things. You gave me a couple things to chew on, and we've been talking about, especially before we went to the last song, we were talking about actually the holiday. So before I get into cybersecurity and all of that, I want to ask you something that I ask a lot of my guests
Hmm.
because I have friends who are from all different backgrounds and
Hmm.
denominations. I've been doing this toy drive for more than 10 years now.
Bravo.
It always boggles my mind the contributions that I get from the Muslim community, the Jewish community, the Republican community, and conservative communities. Not that Christians and Democrats don't contribute,
Hmm.
but uh, please explain to me because um, at, sometimes I I have a hard time. I'm appreciative, but I have a hard time understanding why I get so many great donations of money, toys, coats, and cosigns from people who are Muslim and also Jewish.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I thought about this too.
Because you guys obviously don't celebrate Christmas.
Right, right, exactly. But understand, before I was a Muslim, I was a Baptist. So I was raised as a Baptist and I became a Muslim, I think, close to 30 years ago, right? But the Christmas holiday, regardless of what your religion is always, it sets the tone for goodwill, because Christmas is all about Jesus being born and the celebration of Jesus. And we all know that Jesus was a significant um, being in all things to all of us. Nobody can deny the fact that Jesus was a great saint and did great things. And the Bible is all about him. And some of the Bible is inside the Quran. And the Quran is, it's all together just a good religious purpose. And then when somebody like AC Focus puts the energy together to try to do something kinder and gentler for the children, the most important individuals in our lives are our children and our parents. But then there's a lot of children whose parents can't afford to have a happy Christmas, because kids look at Christmas as a time when I've been a good kid all year. It's Christmas time, I'm gonna get some toys, right? So we don't want to disappoint the kids. So when it's a Muslim or a Jewish person, just like every Hanukkah, every Ramadan, every Christmas, every holiday that's a spiritual holiday, I wish everybody a blessed holiday, because we all are human. And I don't let the title of the religion prevent me from being a kind person during that time. So I just think that we all feel a sense of kindness and a sense of charity and a sense of loving our neighbor and loving our children when it comes down to Christmas. So, yes, I think we haven't given you enough. We should give you more. So if you need some more support, you let me know and I'll write another check because I love what you do, brother.
We'll talk. We'll talk off
Okay.
the air, but I
I love
thank
what you
you.
do.
I
I
thank you
love what
very
you do.
much.
I love what you do.
Okay, so one of the things that I definitely want to talk about is the fact that when it came to this casino game, Atlantic City got in extremely early. We had over 20 years of exclusivity from not having to compete with casinos in Connecticut, New York, Philly. But those days are, they're not going, they're gone.
Yeah.
By this time, 5 years from now, casinos will be up and humming in uh, New York as
Yeah.
well as, all across,
Yeah.
all across America.
Yeah.
So we can't put we can't put that horse back in the barn.
Right.
Too late to lock the barn on that. But talk to me about the importance of the fact that you've been working on cybersecurity for 10 years now. So you've gotten in early.
Yeah. Well, my son, James III, he's a quantitative data analyst and he does a lot of investment stuff. And he told me, he said, Dad, it takes 20 years to change an economy, whether it's a
Mm,
local economy or a state economy or a national economy. It takes 20 years, right? So we're already 10 years into that 20 from what we've been doing to lay the groundwork. Now, when you look at Atlantic City, and like you say, I guess it's been 40 plus 50 years that casinos have been here.
right,
That period of time, the folks in Atlantic City, all they've heard about is casinos, the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority, the casino charities, the casino donations, the casino giveaway food. It's always been the casino thing ingrained in everybody's brain. So nobody really has thought outside that box. Nobody thought that the cow was ever going to dry up. They never thought that the milk and honey was going to dry up. They thought it was always going to be there. But like you say, with the expansion of casinos around the nation, it constantly has diminished the casino's value in Atlantic City. But during that time, because everybody had this casino mentality, nobody started thinking about, well, what are we going to do when it dries up? What plan do we have in place to grow other industry, other jobs, other workforce training? Nobody was thinking that because they were busy opening up training facilities to train people how to work in the casino, how to be a card dealer, how to do this and casino stuff. Because we're a casino
right.
town. Okay, it got to a point where you started seeing a couple of casinos closing down. I remember it was a few years ago when I think one or two casinos closed down, and all of a sudden it was 5,000, 6,000 unemployed people in Atlantic City. Had to make that adjustment. You just make that adjustment, but you don't adjust your thinking, your thought process that we got to make some changes here. This is going to hit us again one day. So when I saw that opportunity, and I realized that this cybersecurity thing was going to get bigger and worse and more solutions to protect us. I said, you know what? This is something we need to jump on because number one, who needs more cybersecurity trained employees than anybody? Financial institutions like casinos and banks, hospitals, healthcare. Because God forbid that a hacker gets in there and hacks the medical system in Atlantic City and takes down the medical data in the pharmacies. How are these senior citizens going to get the drugs they need to get when they got critical needs and health? So beyond casinos, we needed to get into this cybersecurity thing to protect what we have and to grow what we don't have yet. Now, the casinos, we saw where I think it was MGM couple years ago, they got hit hard by a cyber ransom attack, and they had to come out the pocket with a lot of money. I think it was more than 50 million. Okay, You had to come out your pocket with 50 million. Just what if you had invested a half a million in training your staff to avoid that situation? You got to
Right.
think. You got to think like the bad guys. You got to think like the hackers. They want to get in the casinos where the casinos should be front and center, making sure they fortify their data systems with trained staff. Because all it takes is one little mistake. Like one casino uh, in Vegas, they had a big aquarium in their lobby with sharks and fish and everything swimming around. A hacker hacked into the computer that deals with the fish tank filter, because it's computerized on the fish tank water. And through that computer in the aquarium, it hacked into the casino's cash machine. Okay, they were able to go through the computer in the aquarium and get into the casino's computer and did a ransom thing on them, and they lost hundreds of millions of dollars because the fish tank wasn't protected. So it's the simple
Wow.
things that can lead to major catastrophes, and I think Atlantic City can be at the forefront of this type of training, particularly in the casino industry. So, whether we get all six of our coastal cities to agree to work together to fortify the Atlantic coastal shore from cyber attacks, that'd be unheard of.
Unheard of. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, this is the Light Morning Show. I'm here with James Whitehead from U.S. Heart Cares and the Jimmy Whitehead Power Hour. Tell them how people can view and support the Jimmy Whitehead Power Hour, please.
Sure. Um, and let me explain why I call it the Power Hour. Okay, so when I was doing a radio show before on WEHA, the gospel channel, some
Right.
years ago, the Hawks told me that the radio stations consider 5 to 6 o'clock the power hour because that's when people are usually traveling home from work and they listening to their
Exactly.
radio 5 to 6. So I said, let me take that 5 to 6 hour and call it the power hour because that's what people are doing traveling. And I created this Jimmy Whitehead Power Hour to try to do some community outreach, broadcasting, and some other kind of good stuff. And so then when this podcast technology came about, and I wanted to figure out a way to get more of the word out to people about what we're doing up here with cybersecurity and AI. And I wanted to make sure they understood that it was focused on what I call compassionate capitalism, because ultimately I want to help create some new millionaires in Atlantic City. Because that's going to be the proof in the pudding when people see that we're creating new legacy wealth, when we're creating new jobs that are very financially rewarding, when we're creating new entrepreneurs. That's when it's going to make a difference. So with the Power Hour, I wanted to use that as a platform, as a podcast. It's a podcast and it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, and it's on LinkedIn. That's how you can follow it. So I had to learn how to do this podcast because I'm an old guy. I'm 69 years old, right? Next year, May, and I just really learned how to use my cell phone. I mean, the guys that do our cybersecurity workforce training are all former, NSA, CIA, FBI, Department of Defense guys. Jimmy Whitehead, I'm just a guy that know how to cook some good salmon and some broccoli, and I got a lot of contacts. I get the door open.
Right.
But
That should be the next podcast, the cooking show.
I don't want to go that far. But I do cook good though. I'm not gonna kid about that. But so I saw the podcast as a way to get the word out there more. I'm still learning how to perfect it. I need to come to the Ray Tyler School of Broadcast and learn how to do what you do so well.
We're going to talk about that on the other side. And I'm going to play one of my favorite Christmas
Please
songs. I'm
do.
going to dig into my bag. As a matter of fact, I'm going to play two short ones. I'm going to start off with late Pearl Bailey and
Mm.
Hot Lips Page, Baby It's Cold Outside, my
Oh
favorite
yes.
version of that particular song. And I'm going to go extremely old school but corny, John Denver and Ralph the Dog from the Muppets.
Oh,
Have yourself a merry little Christmas, and we'll be
wonderful.
back with more of the Power Hour with Jimmy Whitehead, The Light with Raymond Tyler, powered by AtlanticCityFocus.com, where, as a matter of fact, you will be able to see this interview as well. And I guess Jimmy's gonna post it on his
Absolutely.
on his platforms as well. But we'll be
Absolutely.
back with for those of you listening on the radio with more right after this.